name's Neil McKenzie. I'm the CMO here at Regina Andrew. Welcome to our showroom. This is our Fireside chat series. So in total, we will have 7 events. I've been referring to this as almost like our MTV Unplugged. So meant to be really kind of candid conversations, more intimate setting, for folks to listen, learn, network, and hopefully walk away with some things that can help you and your business. We welcome you. If it's your first time in our space, there's a lot to see. A lot of fun things kind of going on. We have a bunch of new collections, and then the company, just a little bit about Regina Andrew. So company was founded over 26 years ago, husband and wife, Carla Regina, James Andrew. Really a company founded by creatives for creatives. So we design, they design everything that you see in our space. And then what also makes our shopping experience a little unique from a high point perspective is everything in our space is shoppable. So everything you're seeing from furniture, lighting, the accessories, the decor, the rugs, it's all part of the Regina Andrew experience. And you have a chance to shop that experience very easily, if you will. You can check in at the desk, get one of our quote scanners, walk around, build a quote. It'll all be saved to your online account. You'll also get an email when you leave the showroom, so you can refer to that. Other things, kind of some fun things happening. We'll have a little cocktail hour after John is done, so that's going to be fun. And then behind you all, we have our Thrill of the Hunt area where we have our jewelry and vintage shop. So that's all cash and carry. All that jewelry is handmade in our shop in Detroit. So be sure to check that out. There's some fun finds there. And I'm excited to have John McLain with us. John is a good friend of the company and I think offers a lot of perspective on the design business based on some trial and error and some fun experiences that he's had. But I think he offers a unique perspective. And I know you'll definitely learn some things and you'll have some fun as well. So, John, thank you for being here. And I'll hand it over to you.
Thank you, Neil. Thank you. And my God, I just love this showroom so much. Neil's like, it's shoppable. I'm like, yeah, it is shoppable. I'm going to get like one of everything. I don't know how anyone could come in here. So thank you, Regina, Andrew, and Neil for having me. Thank you all for being here. This is literally my favorite session that I do at High Point because it's so casual and we can just chit chat. So feel free to. The whole point of this, by the way, is it's called Open Book for a reason. So I want you guys to ask questions. It's almost like I'm doing a group coaching session with people because you're going to hear me say things here and I will answer you exactly the way that I would answer someone who is paying me to get that answer. So please ask me anything that you want because I want it to be that back and forth. I always call myself the Oprah of this session because I'm going to be you're asking you questions and you're going to be asking me questions. So when we get to that point, please have some questions ready. And again, I'm literally totally an open book for better or worse. You're going to probably hear things that you don't need to hear, but then some things that you're like, yes, John, that's great. And if I'm a little off, I just came back from Milan, from Salone at the show there. So just a day and a half ago. So I'm a little caffeinated up today. So who knows what's going to come out. But I wanted to give it a base. And by the way, for those of you who don't know me, I'm an interior designer as well. Like all of you crazy interior designers in the room, like we're all so passionate and we love what we do so much. So, and I do as well. But I transitioned into helping other designers through what I call the McClain method, which is my coaching and courses and templates and all of those things. My podcast as well. If you guys don't listen, please listen to that. It's a lot of free, great information that I share on there, kind of continuing the open book situation. But I started doing that because I saw a need for other designers to hear kind of what's going on. And if you've never listened to any of my podcasts, go to episode 1. Grab a strong cocktail and then come back and tell me what you think about it because it's pretty rough. And that's how I started my entire platform of helping designers. So you can find out more at McClainmethod.com. So anyway, so today I wanted to give a focus to the talk because I can't just stand up here and let you guys ask me every question without giving it a direction. So I wanted to start at the beginning of where we start every situation relationship with a client, which is the discovery call, right? So the discovery call is that part whether you're either excited about or you're nervous because you're afraid of what could happen from that. But hopefully today we're going to squelch some of those things that you're concerned about and maybe give you a better formula for it. And then again, I want you to ask me any questions along the way that you have. Literally, if I'm in the middle of talking, raise your hand. I'm happy to answer, okay? So how many of you have done this? So you had this discovery call You chatted, chit chatted. It went so great. The client was so wonderful. It sounded like a great project. You hung up and you're like, yes, they are going to sign. I nailed it. How many have had that before, right? Okay. And then how many have had that where the client has completely ghosted you after that happened, after you've had that feeling? Yeah, me too. So that is where I stopped and I was like, okay, John, what are you doing wrong? Where is the problem in this whole lineup of the way that you're doing your discovery calls? And I stopped and looked at everything and I realized that the actual discovery call, yes, it's important, but the work that we do before the discovery call happens is actually where the work matters the most. The messaging that you're putting out into the world for your potential clients to see. Honestly, that is so, so much more vital than what you say and do on that discovery call. But by the time they get to the discovery call, you should not be convincing them to work with you. All they're doing on that discovery call, if you've done it right until that point, is confirming that you're the right designer for them because of their home situation and their needs. They're not going to come on that discovery call and have any if you've done your work right, they should have plenty of information about you, about how you work, what you do, what your pricing standards are, your methods, all of those things. And that is the part where I realized I was dropping the ball. So and if you bring a client to a discovery call and you don't have any sort of information for them to check before they get to that point, you're going to spend the entire time trying to convince them and you're going to lose them because you only have that 15 to 20 minutes or so to really talk to them about why you should be the designer for them. So, what I did was stop and pull back and say, okay, again, what was I doing incorrectly and what could I do to fix that? So, I'm going to give you a little formula of what I did, and you can take what you want, leave what you want. Maybe you're doing some of this already. If you are, great. So I looked at a few things. I looked at my website, right? I looked at my social media, and then I looked at any sort of like press or PR that was out there because clients will just like you're going to investigate them before you do that call, they're going to investigate all of y'all. They really are. They're going to look at you. They're going to look at your social media. They're going to look at your website, of course. And if they go to your social media and God bless y'all. I go there sometimes and to your websites too, and I'm like, who is the owner of this company? I have no idea who is this person. I have no idea. Your name is there, the company name is there, the beautiful projects are there, but there's nothing about you and what you stand for and what you believe. And that is the part that clients will gravitate towards. Okay. So the first thing I did was look at my social media. Okay. So my social media is for better or worse, it's a necessity. We all need it. And I know a lot of you probably either love it or hate it. And I know also a lot of you, I've seen this too, where your social media honestly feels more like it's directed to another designer than it does to a consumer. You're speaking to other designers who can say, "Yay, that's a beautiful project. I love it so much," without giving any sort of information to a potential client to say, "Yes, she's the right one for me. That is exactly the person I want to work with." So, just a simple little formula that I like to use, by the way, for social media, if this helps you to simplify the process, is and I the acronym is terrible, excuse me, after what's happened lately. It's actually ICE is the acronym that I've come up with for this, but we're gonna just pretend that's a different meaning right now. Uh, but the way that it works is you want to inspire people first. So you want to put inspirational images on there. Yes. So your Instagram, your social media. I'm not gonna even talk about all the other platforms because I don't think that you should try to spread yourself so thin on everything else. So find one that you love, and Instagram works for me. So if that works for you, I would say stick with that. So you inspire. So you're going to definitely show inspirational images on your social media. You're going to show the projects that you've done. You're going to show things that inspire you. I even go as far as say, here's a restaurant that I love because of this decor, or here's a hotel that I was recently in. Those are things that show you as a human being, and then your clients are also going to say, "Oh my god, yeah, I went to a restaurant that I love so much too. I wonder if she can bring that into my design project," right? So, and the second one is confirm. So that is confirming your authority. So you're going to always need to show yourself as the authority, as the expert. I always want you to have yourself on social media or any sort of public situation as the expert. I want you to have it where a client goes to your social media and instantly sees you as the authority figure, saying, yes, she knows what she's talking about. I see that. And that could come in the form of what you say, but it could also come in the form of marketing. A lot of you'll get into a magazine or some sort of publicity, and then you just expect the magazine itself to do all the work of publicizing that. And I want you to continue the publicizing of things on your own terms as well. So even after the fact of being published in something, you should still, of course, be talking about it. I can take one piece of content and talk about it for like months. So do the same thing with that, and you'll find that you have a lot more legs to it than you thought. And then the last one is the E is educate. So you should be educating. So instead of just showing why you chose or that this room that you had tile in, this bathroom, instead of just showing the tile, talk about why you chose the tile. Talk about that's a kid-friendly bathroom. Talk about that it's super durable. Talk about the fact that it doesn't stain. Anything that the color, the size, the pattern, the layout, those are things that your potential client are going to want to see when they come to your social media. And they're going to see you as, again, the expert by doing all of those things. Okay. So take a breath with social media. Don't let it wear you down. Just do the best you can. If you can post 3 times a week, I would suggest that at minimum. And a lot of you are like, I don't post 3 times a month, but I'll try 3 times a week. Okay, sure, John. But give it a shot when you follow that format. And I think it will help you before you post anything to just ask yourself, is it falling under one of those things, ICE, right? So ask yourself that. So the second thing that I did was my website. Now, this is a biggie. The website was mine was atrocious in the fact that it wasn't ugly. It was actually very pretty, but it didn't convert anyone to anything. It didn't convert anyone to a potential client. It didn't convert a client who came there. And again, I'm gonna probably make a lot of you feel guilty by this as well. I go to your websites and it's like beautiful picture scroll, beautiful picture scroll, beautiful picture scroll. And I'm like, well, who is their client? Who is the client that they want to work with? Who is the client that they are fixing all these problems for, right? Who is the client that they are, wanting to pull into their business? You should instantly be speaking to that client on your website right away. First sentence. If you work with busy homeowners, put that on the website. If you work with families, put that on the website. Whatever it is, speak to that pain point on the website. Okay. Second thing I did on the website after fixing that part was I actually did something that a lot of you probably either are going to feel good or bad about. I put my minimums on my website. I put a very simple statement that showed the minimum amount to work with me is this amount for creative fee, and I call it creative fee. If any of you know me, it's creative fee. I don't call it design fee because I want clients to appreciate us for our creativity, not just design, that vague term. Um, so I put my minimums on there for that. I also put my minimums for product purchasing. Okay. So when they go to the website now, they are instantly seeing what the minimums are to even work with me, to even come into my company, whether or not they are a good fit to even partner with me. Because you guys know this, a lot of these clients will come to you and their idea of what a designer does or what a designer charges is not anywhere in the realm of possibilities. And if you guys have heard my podcast, I told a story where early on in my career, I went to this home in Beverly Hills and I was like, okay, this is a good one. Like, oh my God, yes, yes, yes. And then I did the proposal, sent it over, and the guy was like, wait, what? Your fee is 50,000? I Googled it. It was $50 an hour for designers. And I was like, okay, we have a problem in our industry and I have a problem with myself right now. So I was like, I will not let that happen again. And by the way, this was like a massive house in the Hollywood Hills. And I'm like, you think you're going to pay somebody $50 an hour to come and redesign this house? Like, I won't even do my mom's house for $50 an hour. So I figured out that the problem was me. Half the time when things happen incorrectly or bad or goes the wrong way, it's actually us not giving the information. So I put those minimums on my website. Okay. So that is one thing that I did as well. And I suggest that if you don't have a minimum, consider what that would be. I keep mine pretty low, honestly. So it's 25,000 for the creative fee. And I do that on purpose because sometimes maybe I want to take on like one nursery or one bedroom, and then sometimes maybe I'll want to do a whole home. It just depends. But that minimum amount, it allows clients to get their foot in the door to work with us. And I can say yes or no at that point, whether or not they are the right client. And then the minimums for a product as well. I suggest before you purchase products that you definitely have a minimum amount that you will use for that. Like, don't just start taking everyone in and then ordering things. And one client's $1,500 and another one's 3,000 and one's 150,000. Have those minimums because a lot of it's not worth your time. But when I started doing this, what happened was my discovery call went from like 5 or 6 a week to like one or two, and it was scary at first. And that's what's going to happen when you start putting your minimums out there. When you start putting these boundaries out there, you're going to get fewer people who are interested. But the people who are interested are really interested because they've already looked at your website. They've already looked at all the things that you have, and they're going to be able to decide on their own if they want to move forward with you. So by the time they get to that discovery call, you've already done half the battle. They've already figured out like, okay, here's the minimums. That's great. I can do that. I can do that. And they see that there is the potential of working with you. So you're not spending that entire time on your discovery call like, okay, well, here's this and here's that. Yes, I will review it, by the way, just to make sure that they understood it, but it is very clearly spelled out. Now, the other thing that I did was I make it very simple on my website to book a discovery call. Very, very simple. It literally says step one because people are dumb. So I just put step one on there, okay? Because like step one is this. So we start with step one. Can't go any further than that. And so step one literally says schedule a discovery call. Here's what happens when you do that. They schedule the call on the website. So it's very easy. And if you don't have a booking system, a calendar system to do that, I highly suggest that you get one. I love Acuity. It's a great one because it allows me to use it for consultations and they can pay for that. And then the discovery call, of course, is free, but it will also allow me to attach a questionnaire. But Calendly does the same. There's one called TidyCal, which is very inexpensive, by the way, if you want to look into that. But you want one that will do a few things. It needs to live on your website. So it needs to be embedded on your website so that they can go there at any point and you wake up in the morning and then you have 5 discovery calls booked for the week. That's amazing, right? To just have it work on its own. We always feel in our industry that we have to be like holding hands to like get things done. Like we have to be that person is like, oh no, let me call you and I'm gonna walk you through this. And no, let people do this on their own. People want like autonomy. So when you give them that chance to do that, you're going to take that load off of your plate. And how many solopreneurs are in the room? Yeah. So imagine having something working in the background for you where you don't even have to touch it. It just does it on its own. Okay. So the way that I have that set up on my discovery calls is this. So they book the call, they get an automated reply, and on that reply, they get two things. They get the confirmation, but they also get my investment guide. Okay. And you might have seen I have an investment guide that's all over the Instagram right now. You might have seen it driving you bonkers with it, but it's really, really helpful because it is, again, another vetting point for clients. It shows a low, middle, and high for different product ranges. And I send that out as like a little freebie. So I say, hey, just for booking the call with me as an incentive, I'm going to give you this investment guide. And it's going to show you all the different ranges of products. On our call, we'll quickly review that to see how you feel about that. So um, I have had people get the investment guide and then cancel the discovery call, like, all right, see you later. That's great. And then I've had people come on to the call very, very, very informed, very interested, very aware of like, no, I would never, I understand I should be in this category of that because that's what I want. So it's that further vetting that you do with them, which is really, really important. And it gives you, again, a place to start the conversation on the actual call itself. Okay. So this is all happening before, right? The call. And then also with my automation, because people forget, depending upon how early they schedule it, I will send out a reminder 1 week before it and then 1 day before it. And then also 15 minutes before it, because God knows how many. Has anyone ever gone to a consultation in person and then had the client not show up? Yes, right. So that is so frustrating. My time is something that I hold very dearly, and I want you all to do that as well. So don't ever let a client dictate your schedule or your time or be flippant about it. A call is a little different than in person, but still, you block that time off with preparation and so forth. So those reminders are super important. And I just want to say that and to get into the weeds with that a little bit, because I feel like technology and now even with AI, it can be as if it's another team member on your team. It can literally be someone doing work for you. At one point, I had 7 in my office, and even then, I still use this booking system because I don't need my administrative assistant calling someone to schedule the call. And even if someone calls the office and we have a nice little chat, I still send them over the link to book it on the calendar because it has my processes in there. So after they are booking the call, then they have to fill out a short questionnaire. Now the questionnaire for the discovery call is not too complicated. I don't go into much detail on there. They're excited, right? They're still very in the, oh my God, what is this person going to do to my home? They're not going to want to hear you ask, like, I hate the question, what is your budget? First of all, let go of budget, get rid of it. Please use investment. Budget's a dirty term, I think. Uh, Investment sounds much more about what their return on investment is going to be for their home. Okay. So try to use that going forward if you can. But when you are asking them what their investment is or their budget is, they're not going to know. And I know a lot of us are asking because we don't really know either. So we're just going to see like, okay, does this sound good? Okay, great. I can maybe do that. But if you have yourself aligned with what a home cost, a room cost, you can send that to clients ahead of time and let them know. And if you've done a project in the past and if you don't want to send out a full investment guide, pick one project, pick one room. So pick your favorite living room that you've done, and maybe it's a living room kitchen combo. Lay that out in a nice little PDF. Just go into Canva or somewhere and do that, and put price points on those things, and then just send it over to the client and say, if you love this from my website, here is the pricing for that. And it just aligns them again with whether they're dreaming something's going to cost something differently than it really is. It will bring them back down to earth and say, "Oh, okay, that coffee table was $3,000. I really loved it, but maybe I can cut back on something else." But just be sure that you are trying to, again, pre-educate them ahead of time. Okay. So now on the call itself, this is where I think a lot of us spend so much time selling on the call, and I don't want you to do that. I want you to spend more time letting the client talk and more time letting them air out their issues that they have, right? Because that's really where they are going to look at you as either someone who is on their side or someone who's just trying to make a buck, okay? The first thing I say to a client when they call, of course, after saying thank you for calling and we schedule the call. And by the way, you can do this video or a phone call. Just depends. If you want to do video, totally fine. I do phone calls because I find that, a lot of times clients don't want to get on camera right away. So I'll do a phone call. So the first thing I ask after the little introduction is like, what prompted you to call today, right now? When you ask that question about why did you call, why did you want this discovery call right now? They're going to give you the biggest pain point ever. They're going to tell you exactly what their frustration is. They're going to tell you exactly why they picked up their computer or their tablet at 10 o'clock last night and booked this discovery call with you. That is going to be your mantra for the rest of that call. That's going to be the thing that you literally talk about. You should listen so intently. If they say, I'm overwhelmed, if they say messy, any terms that they use, I want you to repeat that back to them during your call. They're going to hear you. They're going to know that you're listening to them, and they're going to be like, oh my God, like she gets me. She understands. So listen intently to what they're saying. Also look back to the questionnaire, of course, and, mimic. You want to just sort of mimic them. I love to become a chameleon with clients because when you do that, you are sort of changing your vocabulary, changing the way that you speak to that person, and they're going to felt heard and they're going to feel understood. And it's really, really important for them to do that. So just try to listen intently when you ask that question, right? So then from that point, let them lead the conversation. Let them literally lead you through what they're thinking, and you're taking notes and you're following through. And I just should mention this too. Before you speak to them, give yourself like 10 minutes to acclimate yourself with the home and look it up, of course. And now with AI, we can absolutely have that do research for us, for the client and for the home. So try to spend some time having a bit of an understanding. I know a lot of you go down a rabbit hole where I've seen some of you and you're like, oh, you have a whole design plan pulled up before the discovery call. Like, don't do that. Like, don't at all do that. But have an understanding of the client and read the questionnaire and have an understanding of their home and what their needs are. It's going to just make you sound a little more, again, invested in that. So as you're letting them speak, you're going to hear all those things, and then you're going to know by the time the call is over whether or not they are a fit for you. You're going to know at that point if they're going to fit into one of your packages that you have. And a lot of you probably only have full service design. I really, really urge you to try to find another avenue for clients to work with you. Try to find another way if you want to have other packages. Even if you only do full service design, and side note, a lot of us do full service design, but we don't even know what full service design really entails. We just keep saying the word and hoping that clients will gravitate toward it. But please define what full service design is. But then when you have these other packages, so like a construction package or a new build package, or maybe you have a furnishings and decor only package, when you have those, you can instantly place that client in that category and tell them, and you can speak to that as you are talking to them. You can tell them, "Oh yeah, you're a great fit because there's no construction. You're a great fit for my furnishings and decor. Here is what that entails." And then you can start to talk about that package just a little bit. But don't do a hard sell, none of that. The entire point of a discovery call is to get them to book a consultation. That is the point of a discovery call. You're not trying to have them sign. You're not trying to move them into some sort of payment plan. You're just literally trying to get them to move to the paid consultation. I say that, the paid consultation. That's very important. So that whole process, the goal again is to get them to schedule the consultation. So you want that to be very easy for them. So you want to mention, "I think you're a good fit for my furnishings and decor." The next step would be to schedule a 1 hour consultation or whatever you guys offer for your consultation. We do 1.5. That gives us 1.5 hours at the client's home, and then 30 minutes to go back to the office and sort of get our bearings together and prepare the scope of work. But whatever you're doing, just make sure that you're clear about that. You're a great fit for this. The cost is $700. We're in your home for an hour and a half. We give you a great scope of work. And from that point, we can develop a proposal for you. And then you can decide if you want to move. Now, if you don't want to move forward, there is the option of that too. You can say no to people, and you should say no to some people. So if all of the flags have checked of where they're a good client or a bad potential client, you want to definitely address both of those. So then after our discovery call is over, there's an automatic email that goes out after that as well. So the system does this for us. It's very, very easy. So it says, "Thank you for scheduling," or "Thank you for being on the discovery call with us. We really enjoyed it. If you would like to book a consultation, here is the link for that." So then 9 times out of 10, most of those people will go ahead and book the consultation because it's so easy and it's right there in the email. But then I also have a follow-up email that goes out 1 week later that just checks in with them to say, "Hey, just checking in. Do you have any questions? How do you want to move forward?" Things like that to sort of jog their memory, because it's not their job to remember to reach out to us. It's our job to remember to reach out to them. Okay. Um, so when you're at that point, you've done your job. Your website has done its job. It's vetted them out. Your social media has done its job, and by vetting them out, they've been on the discovery call with you, right? So that's great. And then you feel like you should move forward. So all these things are done like in a very sequential way, so that you're not having to scramble around and do so much selling on that discovery call. Most of mine last about 20 minutes or so. If it's going really, really well, I'll just keep talking. Like if we all have that inner mind of ourselves where we're like, "Oh, this is going to be a good one. I can tell if they're asking the right questions to us." So don't just cap it off if it's not finished. Like definitely, keep talking with them. Not for like an hour and a half. Like one time, my administrative assistant started doing our discovery calls because he was really, really good at them. He was like, "John, I think I can do these," because he was hearing other people, and we have a little, of course, I have a process to follow for them, obviously. And so he started doing them, and he was closing them right and left. But I was like, "How are they going?" He's like, "Yeah, I talked to this lady for like an hour and 10 minutes." I was like, "What? An hour and 10 minutes? Like that's a little too long there. So you're giving away too much." So definitely cap it off. But the point is you want to have them vetted before they get there. And I can probably say right now, if I went to many of your websites, and I'm not trying to make you feel bad, I just want to open up your eyes. But if I went there now, there probably is not an easy way for me as a potential customer to book a call with you on that discovery call and to get the process going. I had a coaching call recently where someone said, I just don't know why I'm not closing any new deals. I have so many calls coming in. And I was like, "Well, tell me what's happening." And so she said, I do the discovery call. I send over the contract. I thought, wait, what? You do the discovery call and then you send over the agreement like right after that? I said, well, first of all, I didn't laugh, obviously, but I was like, okay, let's just readjust here. So she literally cut out the most important part, which was getting to know the client, getting the information, getting the vetting part done. You can never, never, ever discount those touch points with a client. Those touch points, even if they're small in the beginning, are so important. That's why I insist on an in-person consultation at their home. I mean, obviously, with a new construction, we'll bring them into an office and do that. But if it's possible, I love going to their home and actually, seeing their home and then getting used to that. So, those touch points are really, really, really important in the beginning, and you don't want to ever try to just like go from 0 to 60 that quickly because it will never pay off. You're missing so many things. So the way that we do it is, kind of getting into the next phase of this is that we will do the consultation. We will prepare a scope of work. The client approves the scope of work. We require that they do. We send that over to them as part of their deliverable from the consultation. So they can, and I always say, you can take this and run with it if you want. We've listed everything out for you, what we think your home should have, or you can hire us, and which is what 99% of the people do. That's literally the line that I use, and it works every time because what we don't realize is like psychology is such a big part of selling, and we all get so scared of selling. But all that client needs to know is that you've got them, you understand them, you've done this before, you've had people who, not, oh my gosh, 99% of the people move forward with you. Well, I definitely want to be that 99%, right? And then so after that, we then develop the proposal for the client. We don't send the agreement out. We do a lovely proposal, which sort of, it's not super detailed as far as like, things in your agreement, but it definitely spells out pricing. It definitely spells out the process. It definitely spells out more reasons why they should be working with us. So I don't want to go from discovery call to a consultation to an ugly agreement, right? I don't, because my agreement, if y'all saw it, you probably died. It's with the scope of work put in. It's 26 pages long. Ta-da! I know a lot of you are freaking out about that, but it is so good, and I love it so much. I always tell my husband if I didn't sleep with you, I would sleep with that agreement because it is literally the thing that makes me feel so good. It just protects me so much. So the agreement, I would never go from consultation to the agreement. I did that in the beginning, and it just scares people away. So I suggest that you definitely have a proposal in between that. Okay. So I hope this has reframed. I'm going to open it up for questions in a second, but I hope this has reframed the importance of the pre-work that should be done before a discovery call. Don't get on that call having to tell your whole life story about yourself and your business and everything. Have a lot of that done ahead of time. One thing I left out was this. So after the discovery call, we do send over on the confirmation email a menu of services that does tell them, reiterates the fact that we have these different types of services for them. So if I said you fall into the new construction home category, I will send over that document that lets them know more details about that. It's also on our website, but I want to make it super, super clear and super easy for them to grab that. Okay, so that's one thing I do send back over. But the pre-vetting part, the part where we're glossing over and trying to move to just having them sign is so important. And it lives on and on and on. It lives on your social media. It lives on your website. You do these things, and it's going to take you some time to do that. But when you get it done, it's going to help you over and over and over in so many ways. And yes, the number of calls will drop. It always does when you put your information out there. But the right clients, if you're speaking to them in all the different ways, if you're hitting those pain points on your website, if you're speaking to them about, oh wow, I like that. I like that she's clear. I like that. Because most people, think about it, most clients that we have are very successful people. They're C-suite executives. They're running big companies. They want to know that you have a plan in place for their business. They want to know that you have a process to handle their money securely. They want to know that you're going to take care of their investment in the right way. So I always speak about return on investments when I'm speaking to clients, even if they're never intending on selling their home. I still speak to return on your investment of working with a design professional in the outcome that you're going to get. Okay. So, couple things. So the McClainmethod.com is where you can kind of see all the things that I offer there. Lots of freebies. If you want to scan the card there as well, take one with you. There's a freebie there. for how to fix your bio, which is again part of this whole pre-vetting process, which is why I included that. And then my podcast, I would love for you guys to listen there as well. I'm also doing a live webinar on May 13th on AI. So we're going to follow along together and set up your Claude account in the right way so that it works with you and helps you with your business. But now I want to open it up for questions. If anyone has any questions about literally anything, it does not have to be about Discovery Call. It can be boxers or briefs. I don't care. Whatever question you have, just ask me. I don't care.
Hi. So my question is between the scope of work and the proposal, what exactly happens there? Are you just waiting for like a verbal yes, we want to move forward? Are they signing it or how are you converting them in that stage?
So I look at everything like so she's the difference between the scope of work and then when you move to the proposal. The scope of work is honestly the most important part of what we do before we get the agreement. I used to again gloss over that. I'm telling y'all things that I've done and made mistakes by, so I don't want y'all to do them again. So all the things that I'm saying are things that I've done horribly in the past that I'd stop doing. So my scope of work is so detailed. It's so detailed. It's not simply I'm going to design your living room. It's that we're going to because listen, you all go into a consultation and you see that needs to be a 10-foot sofa. You see that there needs to be a nesting table here. We know instantly with that, right? Kind of what needs to be done. So I'm very specific with the scope of work as well. So the scope of work is probably let's say on a like a 5,000 square foot home, I would say the scope of work is probably about 10 to 12 pages of in length. After the consultation is when that happened. So during the consultation, we're walking around and we're getting the details of everything and we're figuring out what the plan is for their home and we're taking notes for that. That turns into the scope of work because I like to have a deliverable for the consultation. I want them to know that, okay, this is not just me coming in to take a tour of your home. You're going to get this deliverable from me, which is the scope of work. So it will literally say one sofa, two coffee tables, one 9 by 12 area rug, three end tables, two lamps. Or if we're doing renovation, it will go even in more depth than that. And then we'll itemize it by room. Okay. So it's really, really, really detailed. Then I send that over and I say, hey, as we mentioned, here's the scope of work. Please review this. Let me know if I omitted anything. Let me know if I missed anything. Let me know if something's wrong. We will change it. And then they'll say, oh, yeah, actually, I don't think I want to do my son's room anymore. We'll leave that as it is. Or, yeah, I want to add on the other place. So they'll respond to you and then you go back and edit it again. Then send it back over to them. I know it's a little bit of time, but it's important. So you send it back over to them and you say, does this look correct based upon what you recommended to me? Then they'll approve it. So that email to me is the approval. I don't require like an official sign off on that. If they approve it in the email, then that's the approval for the scope of work for that. And then that scope of work turns into how I will come up with, I have a designer calculator that I came up with that is literally, I put the scope, I plug it in, out comes the total for the project as a flat fee. So that's what we do. We put it in and then there comes the flat fee. And then I'll send that over to them in a proposal after we've put it into the designer calculator. And then that scope of work lives also inside the agreement. It's also living in the agreement as well, because I just keep referring back to that. So this is where scope creep will never happen to you again when you have a detailed scope of work. Now, I'm not an idiot. Like if they're like, oh, I think, John, we should do a sectional now instead of a sofa, I'm not going to change the price for that. But if they're like, I need another 1,200 square foot addition, then that's going to be an additional price, for their project. Yes.
So I have the proposal template.
Okay, so in your proposal template, it's got the scope of work and then it has your investment a page or two later. Do you ever break out prices attached to the scope of work so that it can be like, oh, I don't want to do my son's room because I want to save up for that or
They'll tell you on at that point. So what I'll
yeah.
say is I don't break it out by space, no, because
Mhm.
at this point they're still dreaming of the big dream. They're still dreaming of their entire home. They're still dreaming of like, yes, my son's room was in that. If they look at the proposal and they're like, this is a little more than what I wanted, I'll say, okay, let's review again and decide what we want to remove. Not just, I'm going to slash the price,
Oh,
obviously.
right.
Yeah.
Right.
But we will start removing things. And that does happen. And it's
Yeah.
okay. Another line that I use, feel free to use this, is I tell clients we worked with something called common sense. And if common sense comes into play, we need to change something, it will be done. And it's true. It really is true. I don't want them to ever look at us like the designer dictator where we're just coming in and saying, you have to do this. So if they're like, yeah, I can do like 75 for your creative fee. I didn't really have 100, in the budget. Then let's see what we can take out.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Does that help at all? Okay.
So thanks. I'm not clear on what your scope of work document is. It sounds like you're designing the space. So when you go in for the consultation, are you measuring rooms or?
No.
Okay.
It's literally what you are envisioning the final outcome to be in your head. So it's the generalization of it. So it's not, I mean, I say a 10-foot sofa, that's a guesstimate. I'm not going to measure that. I have, but no, it's not. You're not doing any design work. You're just giving them a very definitive list of all the things. Like, this is what I call their pie in the sky wish list. Like, this is kind of like you open up the Sears catalog, if anybody's old enough to remember that as a kid, and you fold the pages down. Like, it's all the things that they want to have done in their home based upon what they told me. And I also too, I take my investment guide to the consultation. So my investment guide that shows the low, medium, and high, I do print out that and I take it with me to the consultation so that we're sitting there at the consultation and I'm saying, okay, look at a sofa. Tell me where you feel a sofa is, where you align with low, middle, or high. And they will usually say, oh gosh, I could never spend 15,000 on a sofa. Okay, great. Then you should be in this category. Those are brands like da 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 da. And then you'll kind of let them know that. But the scope of work is just, again, it's the spine, the backbone, the Bible of your entire relationship with that client, because all of your pricing, all of your work is based upon that scope of work with them.
Does it ever change then? Like let's say you go to the consultation and you say, all right, you've got a fireplace in this living room. We'll do a sofa and 2 lounge chairs and a coffee table. And then does it change later? Maybe you do 2 sofas or whatever it might be.
Yes, again, that's where the common sense comes in. So I'm like, okay, it's going to take me the same amount of time to choose this as it is that. If it's a drastic change or if it's something that I did wrong, then I won't charge them for that. But again, if it's a major addition where they're like trying to make a major change, like if we weren't going to work on the breakfast in the kitchen, then now we're working on it, then that's an entirely different conversation.
Okay.
Yeah, but
Do you include things other than major pieces of furniture?
yes. Oh, yeah. This is for renovations as well. So again, this is the scope of work for if it's a kitchen redesign, if it's, all those things. We want to do it quickly so we can move on and get to the pricing part of things. You have to stop and you have to make a scope of work. You just have to, guys. You have to. It's so important. So yes, on anything, new builds, anything that you're working on, I promise you can come up with a scope of work. And the scope of work is not some fancy page. It's literally just, I open up a Google Sheets or a Microsoft Word and I list it out and I use the same template over and over. We have our logo at the top, and then we have the rooms broken out, and then we have one category that says throughout. So the throughout category could be like, new wood flooring throughout the entire home, or paint every single room in the home, that kind of a thing. And then we'll kind of put that in the throughout category. But the rest of them are like very, very, very specific. But again, if it's something that you're just doing the best that you can at that point, you're doing the best that you can based on what you're seeing. Obviously, if something comes up in their construction and you have to pivot, then yeah, that's going to change the scope of work a bit. That's another conversation. But at the beginning of that, if they've completed the questionnaire correctly, and by the way, my questionnaire for the consultation is much different than my questionnaire for the discovery call, because now I do want to get into the nitty gritty. I do want to find out more about all the things that they're wanting. I do want to know like what their actual wish list is, right? So that's where I do that for the consultation. It's much more in depth. And then I'll bring that with me also to the consultation with them as well. Yeah. Okay.
Thank you. Hi, I'm Tia Good.
Hi.
I am transitioning from working in at an architecture firm doing commercial design
Okay.
to going on my own in residential.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Um, and I hear you kind of answered this a little bit already in regards to per hour or flat fee.
Mhm.
What is your take on that? Is one better than the other?
I knew this question was coming. Pricing questions always come
Yes.
up at some point. No, one is not better than the other. If you are newer, I suggest you stay with hourly, but I suggest that you compile it in a group of hours and they prepay for that. So, like a retainer situation. For instance, if you're working on a project and you've completed the scope of work and you look at it and you think, like, okay, I think this will take me 125 hours or whatever. Um, you should bill the client those. So it's almost like you build them a package of hours and then you work towards that during that time frame until you're comfortable in knowing actually how long these things take you. So, like my designer calculator, part of the importance of it is understanding how long it takes you to do those tasks. So, it has like hundreds of tasks on the back end, and you actually put in the time that it takes you to do those tasks. And then you plug in the scope of work, and then the price comes out based upon how much time you allot for that. I also add a buffer in there. So, in the calculator, because I know y'all underestimate your time on things. So, there's a buffer that kind of rolls it up. But I think in the beginning, if you're just moving over, I would suggest stay with hourly and then just prepackage the hours ahead of time. So maybe you give them, I mean, when I did it, I did like 50-50, but if whatever you're comfortable with, if you want to have them, 30 hours a month, right? If that feels good to you, they prepay for that. And then you're working towards those and deducting the hours from that. Now, I like flat fees and that's all that we do because, I find that clients at a luxury level don't want to be nickeled and dimed, as they say. So I think that's where you have to figure out if the client that you're working with is that type of client. But for us, I knew that it was time to turn completely over into flat. I do flat fees for creative fee. I do also call it project. I don't call it project management, as I said. I call it project fulfillment. So I do a flat fee for that as well. So all those things we do is flat fees. They even prepay all of their shipping. They prepay all of their warehouse storage. All of those things is prepaid when they order the product. So by the time we're at the install with our clients, they don't owe us anything. Like they're done. Like, and they love it. They love knowing that when we're there for the installation, that they don't have to pay anymore. Because with a luxury client and a bigger home and clients who are, just a little more affluent, they don't want to be bothered with things. Technically, is really what it is. So you're taking that work off their plate with that. So I would now to come up with your hourly rate's a different thing. Don't just pluck that out of the air. I want you to know what your cost of doing business is. There's a whole process to know what your hourly rate should be as well. And no one ever should be charging under 150. I don't care if you just rolled out of bed and put your hat on and said, I'm a designer today. Like, don't charge less than 150 per hour, period. Because that is the rock bottom that anyone should be charging. It just helps our industry out so much when you do that. Is that helpful? Okay. Yeah, you're welcome. Yes. Where's our there she? Oh,
Hi,
sorry.
I have a couple questions.
right.
My first question is why the need for a scope of work and a proposal? Why not have the scope of work rolled into the proposal?
So the scope of work is part of the proposal. It's in there, but the proposal buffers them before they get the agreement. So the proposal talks about your pricing before they get the actual agreement. The agreement will have, of course,
But you do scope of work, then proposal, then agreement.
correct. Yeah.
I'm just
I keep them separate because I don't know what the proposal is going to be until they approve the scope of work, right? So they approve the scope of work. We go back and forth on an email with that. And then when they approve it, I can say, okay, now I can get you your proposal because you've approved the actual scope of work for your project and the direction that we're going with it.
so the scope of work does not include pricing, but the proposal does.
Scope of work is just a list.
Okay.
It's just a
I
it's just it literally says again, one sofa, two coffee table. It's literally that. It's just a list of things. It doesn't even say what brands and what price point, but you have if you use like an investment guide like I do, you'll know with that. And then I even have another calculator for furnishings where you put the products into the furnishings calculator and it gives them a total of their products that they're going to invest as well to make sure that you're on the right page there. But the reason you keep them separate is that, again, that scope of work it's so vital to the whole process that I want that to show the client like how important this is. I want them to see like this is really, really important because we're spending so much time on it right now. And it also, back to that whole touch point thing, it gives you a few more touch points with that client before you send over a pricing to them. It gives you a few more like, oh, I really like her. She's great. I want to work with her, because they're seeing that you have a plan. Even by simply having, you guys, even by simply having that booking mechanism on your website, clients are instantly going to know that you're organized. They're going to know that you have a process. They're going to know that you are pulled together. And then when you do that also with the scope of work, it just reiterates that. I like to consistently and constantly remind our clients that we have a process and we have a plan and that we're going to take good care of their money. And I think all these little pre-steps in the beginning are really critical to that point.
And then for your investment guide, what do you use as a basis? Like which brands do you use as a basis for good, better, best?
It varies. It's $37. You can buy it on my website if you want, but it's literally it's everything. So it's
Well, I guess what's your good? Like where do you start good?
well, my top, for instance, is custom pieces, right? So, but it all depends on you. Like whatever you shop for, whatever you want to shop for, and what you're comfortable with is going to be different than mine. Like you might do, I don't know, like you might do Ann Sachs tile, as someone else might do something from a website, right? Tile bar or something, which is nothing wrong with any of that. I'm just saying it just depends on where you are with what you do. So it's really important that that investment guide is. What I did was take sort of like ranges like from my company and then blend them with like national ranges. That's how I came up with the numbers on it. But I definitely want you to review it before to make sure that it feels good to you with that. But it's not like we're saying this is, you know, definitely CB2 or this is definitely Crate and Barrel and then this one's Regina Inn. It's not that. It's just more of like the idea of what that client's comfortable in paying. So whatever you want to put towards that is up to you. But like I think the lowest price sofa I believe is like, I want to say like 1,500, 2,000, like for low, like low, and then up to like, 15, 20,000 for the high end and then in the middle. Because some people will, I'm sure you've all done this where you send a proposal over and then you get ghosted because they're terrified of the pricing that you sent. And it's because you never asked them what pricing they're comfortable with. You never even asked them what is low, middle, and high to you. I can guarantee you our clients don't come to market, obviously, and they don't know what great quality things are like we have here. So it's our job to educate them on that and to have those sort of like moments of saying, okay, this is this type of sofa. This is why it costs more. It is made this way. It's going to last you this long. You're going to reupholster it down the road and save some money like that. So I think part of that educational process in the beginning is just I hate when we gloss over that because it's our job to educate our clients. It's not their job to know
Right.
all those things.
And then when you talk, I know you have your project minimums, but when you're talking pricing on the discovery call in terms of how you work, like
Yes. Yes. I reiterate the pricing of what our minimums are. I reiterate it. And you all can go to my website and see them right now. They're John McLain design. They're right on there if you want to see what I show my clients. But I reiterate the pricing there, and I reiterate a high level of the process. Like, for instance, I have 18 steps that we follow from the minute they call to the minute we put the last vase on the shelf. Like I have all the steps written down. They don't need to know that right away. They need to know that they have a beginning to their project, a middle to their project, and an end to their project. That's what they need to know at that point. Now, on the consultation, I go deeper and I say, actually, just to reassure you, we have a really detailed process that we follow. And then we have a process internally that we follow behind that. I call it the front stage and the backstage. You want your backstage of your business, just like Beyonce's on stage with all of her glory and beautifulness. And there's people behind stage doing all the things and keeping those things running. You want to have the backstage running just as efficiently as what you're presenting to the client. And I tell them that. I tell them that we do have this in place. And many, many, many times that has clinched the deal for us because they love that, again, that we're taking good care of their money.
thank you.
Oh, I did.
Really don't need the mic, actually. Hello, this is
Hi.
great information, by the way. I was here at fall and I did apply these steps. And I will like kind of back up and reiterate that it is game changer to have all of this in play because you're not really traveling back. And I think that is kind of after all of this, But keep in mind that most of us are creatives here. And I think that's why and I had so many questions until I started applying, and it kind of falls into play.
Yes.
So the information is very crucial, but it's hard for creatives because it's very fixed. And that's not what we're good at. But once we apply them, we don't have to reiterate. And working with business coaches on this is something that I also had to apply. So all these steps and process, it sounds really scary, but it's great because it really keeps the jobs functioning forward. But you really kind of cater it to your own business and your own clientele. It's not necessarily my business catered like yours. So therefore, I do have like an X amount of hours and minimums, just changing a few things. But with that in mind, I am very curious about this calculator. I want to know that. So,
The website. It's on the website too, actually. So you can
okay.
get
So, like, where do I get that?
yeah. It's at
Because
McClainmethod.com. It's
that's
on there.
yeah, and
Yeah.
that is like very. So I do have a minimum, and I'm like,
Yeah.
okay, and this project will take 12 hours. I do have a retainer that needs to be submitted for me to begin the work. Once the retainer is submitted, which is my minimum to begin working, we draw from the retainer, and then we have statements that are issued on our time. So that means my dock time
Yes.
and what my work is doing.
Yes.
And then that can be drawn to that client at any point that they want it. So that means that they feel comfortable, they feel safe, that we're not, what did you do for 6 hours? Does that make sense?
Oh, even
So,
with flat
yeah.
fees, I still have my hourly's time written down. We still account for that. I hold myself accountable to our clients every time. So thank you. And thank you for saying that too about the setup of that. Cause definitely with creatives, we don't want to think about all the behind the scenes stuff. Which is why I'm that weird left right brain. I have both. I don't know why, but I do. And so for me, I've always kind of thought that way. Maybe because my first degree is business, and then I became a designer later. But yes, as you said, one and done. You get it done and you finish it. And I'm not the guru, y'all. I'm not. I just know what works for me, and I know what's worked for people that I've taught. So you can take everything kind of with a grain of salt and say, yeah, I like that part. I'm going to not do that part, but I'll keep that part. So make it yours. Make it, your process. Make it your plan. Make it your pricing. You should be able to confidently present this to your client firmly. Like, you should be able to push that price over for them to review firmly, confidently, not wavering at all. And I know a lot of us are also, as creatives, we're people pleasers, and we're terrified of sales, and we're terrified of saying the number. As I always say, what's expensive to me is not expensive to Oprah. So money is very neutral. Okay. Money is a very neutral thing. And if you get that out of your head when you're talking to your clients, they're not going to put your connotation of expensive on their connotation of on their method of expensive. It's going to be what they feel is expensive to them, and you'll start to see them sort of like pull back, and you'll see their eyes widen when they see something that is out of their range, right? Yeah, but thank you for saying that. That's really yeah.
Hi. I was just wondering, how do you say no to clients who aren't a good fit at either stage in the process, the discovery call or after a consultation, if you go to their home and just feel like it's not a good fit?
I'm very open with clients, and I think we should all try to be that way. I'm probably a little too much. I tell them when I go see them at the consultation, I literally say, if there's no, even if I love the project, if there's no synergy between us, because we're going to be very, very, very much in each other's lives. I always say, I'm going to see your bra on the floor at some point in this conversation that we're working together. So we'll, because you're messy, and I'm going to see all that. And we're going to be in your business, and we're going to open up a nightstand and have a surprise face, hopefully on the wife's side, not the husband's side. But I after the consultation, where are you there? After the discovery call, I have two different emails that I have, two different templates that we use. And one of those is the moving forward, and one of them is the not moving forward. And you can go into detail and let them know why. I kind of keep it light. So I'll say, I don't think your investment allowances are going to align with what we typically spend on a project. So for that reason, we're going to have to decline the project. We wish you all the best. Keep it very cordial. Don't take it personally. Be very kind. The design community is much, much smaller than you think it is. We're a very, very tight-knit group. And so I don't want you to ever, put emotions into it, which is why I love using well-trained AI that's trained on your voice, because it does not put emotion behind things. You might be, I've looked at an email before and like, how to respond right now, and then I put it into like, my Claude, and it's like, John, take a breath. Like, here's what you need to say to sound, you can't call her ugly. No, you can't do that, or whatever, right? But I'm just saying, be clear with that. Now, after the consultation, if it's a no as well, I tend to go ahead and say it verbally to them there. If I don't feel like it's going to work, I will sort of let them know. And I will say we'll still send over your scope of work to you at that point. A lot of times you're going to have one client they're going to do one of two things. They're going to either try to pivot and keep you as a designer because they don't feel like they can find anyone else, or they really liked what you had to say. So they may bring themselves up to let's say your minimums weren't being met, right? If they feel like totally taken back by your minimums, they may decide to bring themselves up to that point, which is totally great. But I just learned a long, long time ago that there's no need to skirt the issue with people. You can be very clear, and clear is kind if you think about it, because when you're talking to people and being clear to them, you're being kind to them and not dragging them on and not wasting their time. So find what works well for you in your voice, what you can say very comfortably, either in email or in person. I think documentation is great. My husband's in HR, and he always tells me to document everything. So I literally document. So I love even a follow-up email. If I've said it in person, I'll send another thank you for meeting with me, follow-up email kind of a thing. So just find out where it works in your voice, and never lie. Never just say, or if you have other design friends to refer them to that you think they might work better for, do that. Like, send them to that person. Not somebody terrible, but someone that's not someone with like 20 red flags hanging out of their head, but someone who you feel maybe will work better with maybe a new designer who wants to get their feet wet in the business. Yeah. All right.
Margo.
Mark's over.
Yeah, I'd say, yeah, we had some foods and snacks. We don't want to consume your time and your jet lag. So, if you want to chat with John,
Yep.
please have a drink with him.
I'll be here. Yes.
And enjoy. But thank you so much.
Thank you, Neil. Thank you, Regina. Thank you guys so much. Appreciate you.